When Harry Met Sally's ending was altered because the director found love? The T-Rex in Jurassic Park wasn't meant to finish off the show? What other movies had dramatically changed endings and why? Stay tuned to find out. Directed and co-written by Shane Black, 2018's The Predator ends with the heroes finding a way to defeat the invading extraterrestrials thanks to some alien tech called the Predator Killer. It's an obvious setup for a sequel, but the original script ended with a much cooler stinger. In Black and Fred Decker's screenplay, the movie ends shortly after the ragtag crew defeats the ultimate predator. Quinn McKenna, his son Rory, and biologist Casey Brackett have all survived the battle, but their adventures aren't quite over yet. A helicopter shows up, and who should step out of the chopper but Dutch Schaefer himself. The muscle-bound mercenary played by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the original film, Dutch tells the survivors that they need to come with him. That's when little Rory asks, "Me too?" and Dutch responds, "Especially you." That's where the film ends, implying that Rory will be essential in the war against the Predators. Unfortunately, Black couldn't manage to book Schwarzenegger for such a small part. As the actor explained to Yahoo in 2017, "They asked me and I read it and I didn't like it, whatever they offered. So I'm not going to do that, no. Except if there's a chance that they rewrite it or make it a more significant role."
Stick around.
One of the all-time great rom-coms, When Harry Met Sally, features Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan caught in a will-they-won't-they friendship that spans years. They finally get together on New Year's Eve, making for the perfect ending to a brilliant love story. But things were originally going to be a lot more melancholy. In Nora Ephron's screenplay, the two lose touch for a few years, and at the end they reunite for a few brief moments, catching up one last time before parting ways again. That all changed when director Rob Reiner found love. He was dealing with some heavy personal issues while making the film, and as he explained to People TV in 2018, "I was single for 10 years and making a mess of my personal life, in and out of relationships and not being able to make anything work." But then while shooting the film, Reiner met the woman who would become his wife, Michelle Singer. That radically altered his outlook on everything, including the ending of When Harry Met Sally. Caught in the swells of romance, Reiner changed the finale during the film, thereby allowing Harry and Sally to wind up together.
Because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
While the name Rambo has become virtually synonymous with action movie heroes from the 80s, Sylvester Stallone's one-man army was nearly brought to a definitive end in his debut film. 1982's First Blood followed the Vietnam War veteran as he was targeted by an overbearing small-town sheriff, leading to an escalating conflict that saw Rambo outmaneuver the National Guard and elude authorities. This showdown culminated with Rambo using a machine gun to shoot up buildings throughout town before being confronted by his old commanding officer, Colonel Troutman. The original ending mirrored the novel by David Morrell, in which Troutman shoots Rambo dead. Though, in the film, it's Rambo who manually forces his old friend to pull the trigger, effectively killing himself. Though this ending was filmed and included as a deleted scene on the home video release, director Ted Kotcheff told Entertainment Weekly in 2017 that both he and Stallone felt the original conclusion was too grim. Then they conceived a new ending, with Rambo surrendering to Troutman. One of the most heartbreaking scenes in Star Trek history is the death of Mr. Spock at the end of 1982's Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. In the film's climax, Spock heroically sacrifices his life to repair the Enterprise's warp drive, thereby allowing it to escape the Genesis weapon as he's dosed with lethal radiation. However, the movie ends with strong hints that audiences haven't seen the last of Spock. How do we know? If you notice, his coffin is seen on the newly formed Genesis planet while the character narrates the famous Star Trek intro monologue.
These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise.
But originally, Wrath of Khan lacked this more hopeful conclusion, with Spock's death appearing more definitive. But then co-writer Harve Bennett devised the expanded, more uplifting ending. Post-production included reshoots on the Genesis planet, with Leonard Nimoy recording the monologue. Director Nicholas Meyer objected to these changes, but ultimately to no avail. Terminator 2: Judgment Day is one of those rare sequels that outdoes its predecessor, as director James Cameron reunited with his main cast to make the ultimate sci-fi action movie. As a teenager, John Connor finds himself hunted by an even more advanced killing machine from the future. His mother Sarah reluctantly teams up with a repurposed T-800 to protect him and humanity's eventual salvation. Rather than leave room for seemingly endless sequels to exploit, T2 originally concluded with a definitive happy ending for the Connor family. In the film, Sarah experiences a nightmare where she witnesses a playground full of children get violently incinerated by a nuclear blast. This scene set up the originally intended ending, with an older Sarah serenely watching an adult John playing with his daughter at a similar playground. After the early screening, producer Stephanie Austin revealed to Den of Geek in 2017 that it was determined this original ending didn't resonate as well as hoped. So in the spirit of creating something more evocative, the altered ending with the open road was ultimately used for the final cut instead. The Danny Boyle-directed zombie thriller 28 Days Later sees humans infected by pure rage overrunning Great Britain over the course of a month. Following the widespread social collapse, a young man named Jim awakens alone in a deserted London hospital, shocked at what has happened to the world while he was in a coma. In the theatrical ending, he and his fellow survivors are able to flag a passing aircraft, suggesting that they may have lived long enough to escape this post-apocalyptic hellscape.
Do you think he saw us this time?
However, Jim wasn't always intended to survive the events of the film, with several different planned endings featuring his untimely demise. One version that was shot saw him succumb to gunshot wounds that he endured in the climax, with his friends Selena and Hannah leaving him behind. Another ending, which didn't progress beyond the animatic stage, featured Jim sacrificing himself by offering a complete blood transfusion to Hannah's infected father in order to cleanse him of the contagion. One of the biggest action blockbusters of all time, Jurassic Park opened to rave reviews and earned well over $900 million at the worldwide box office during its initial theatrical run in 1993. Based on the best-selling Michael Crichton novel of the same name, the film is set on a theme park populated by cloned dinosaurs that descends into chaos after it gets overrun by its own prehistoric attractions. As paleontologists Alan Grant and Ellie Sadler lead two children to safety, they're rescued in the nick of time by a T-Rex who attacks the velociraptors that are menacing them. But in the original ending, instead of being conveniently saved by a T-Rex seemingly out of nowhere, the humans were forced to fend for themselves. Storyboards from the scrapped version had the survivors maneuvering the raptors into dinosaur skeletons displayed in the visitor center and killing them with the sharp, heavy bones. Ultimately, the filmmakers decided to give the T-Rex the big moment instead after being impressed by just how powerful the creature's depiction became during production. Titanic was a phenomenal box office success, but it was also a major change of pace for director James Cameron as he eschewed his penchant for action in favor of a tragic period piece romance. The plot is framed by a treasure hunter named Brock Lovett, who explores the wreckage of the title ship with one of the few surviving passengers, Rose Calvert. Rose recounts a whirlwind love story she had before the ill-fated ocean liner sank. After recalling her experience, Rose drops the priceless diamond that Brock was searching for into the ocean, leaving him unaware that she had it the whole time. Cameron had originally written and filmed an ending scene in which Rose's granddaughter Lizzie and Brock witnessed Rose disposing of the diamond as a way to resolve the fortune seeker's character arc. In this alternate version, Rose allows Brock to hold the diamond before tossing it into the ocean, as he admits the treasure doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life. But Cameron ultimately felt the audience wouldn't be invested in Brock's character arc following the extended flashback, and Bill Paxton, who played Brock, agreed with the decision.
3 years. I've thought of nothing except Titanic, but I never got it.
Steven Spielberg returned to the blockbuster world of dinosaurs with the 1997 sequel, The Lost World: Jurassic Park. The movie features the nefarious InGen Corporation deciding to take dinosaurs from Isla Sorna to a planned theme park in California. The survivors of this expedition narrowly escape Isla Sorna with their lives, but then they must contend with the T-Rex rampaging through the streets of San Diego upon their return. This version of the finale was suggested by Spielberg 5 weeks before the start of principal photography, which necessitated a rewrite from the original ending. The original conclusion featured the survivors escaping the island only to face a pterodactyl in a high-flying fight. As Spielberg told Time magazine, he envisioned dinosaurs invading the mainland for an eventual third Jurassic Park film. However, when he realized that he was unlikely to helm such a project, he decided to have some fun while directing the changed ending. 2016's Rogue One, a Star Wars story, explored the events that set the original Star Wars trilogy in motion. An outgunned Rebel Alliance makes a daring raid on the remote Imperial planet of Scarif as they obtain the plans to the Galactic Empire secret weapon, the Death Star. Though successful in transmitting the data to the rest of the Alliance, the Intrepid squad is wiped out when the Death Star fires on their location on Scarif. While the creative team always envisioned protagonists Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor heroically sacrificing themselves for the Alliance's greater victory, another ending was actually planned. As screenwriter Gary Whitta revealed to Entertainment Weekly, a version sparing Jin and Cassian was written in case Disney thought that killing off both the film's lead characters would be considered too dark. Fortunately, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy decided to stick with the original plan. Ultimately, the team agreed with the decision to leave the entire squad to their Pyrrhic victory on Scarif. The 2017 horror flick Get Out marked Jordan Peele's shift from TV sketch comedy to cinematic thrills with Academy Award-winning success. The plot follows a young man named Chris who visits his girlfriend Rose's parents for the first time in a remote upstate New York town, only to discover that this community has a twisted secret. As it turns out, Rose's family and their neighbors take control of black people's bodies in a bid for immortality. In the version of the ending that played in theaters, Chris kills Rose's family and successfully escapes as he's picked up by his friend Rod, a TSA agent. But in another version that was filmed, Chris is discovered by the police instead, who arrest him on the spot for murdering Rose in apparent cold blood. In an oral history published by Vulture, Peele noted that test audiences reacted poorly to that vision, so he decided to give Get Out a happier conclusion instead. As he put it, "When I realized the original downer ending wasn't working, I didn't freak out. I looked at it as an opportunity to come up with a better ending."
I told you not to go in that house.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.